the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous systems. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. These two parts of our energetic nervous system can be seen from the yogic tantric perspective, as well as the more scientific and researched, studied. You can look this stuff up yourself. So please go do your research before you make opinions and assumptions on what I'm sharing here. Go do your research on this subject. So we have the sympathetic nervous system, otherwise known as the fight or flight response within the body. And the fight or flight response comes usually from a chemical, namely cortisol, but known as stress. We experience stress in our minds, in our brains, as a signal from the body that there is certain inflammation, toxicity, as well as it could be traumatic experiences. Sometimes people even just put out a negative energy towards you for no reason, and that comes from, again, that trauma response, that sympathetic fight or flight response, fighting against one another. Humanity fighting against one another. That's basically the best way to look at why everyone's so plugged into the sympathetic nervous system response, is because it's always stimulation, do more, work harder, be better than someone else. Don't do your best, try to make someone else look bad, essentially, which is essentially a fight or flight response. That is stress, that is hatred, and also coming from a stress chemical, very easily researchable and noticeable. And then we have the parasympathetic response, that everybody experiences stress within the body. And the difference between being stressed, quote unquote, which is someone who is constantly aggravated by the fact that their body has stress accumulated within it, which can only really be satisfied through meditation, movement, exercise, sunshine out in nature, vitamins, minerals, proper hydration, essentially eating all your fruits and vegetables, all that sort of thing. It's so basic. And when people look at a yogic diet, they may I get this a lot because I talk to people about health and the type of way that I eat and the different foods. And I serve this at, even the job I'm working at, and that starts to make sense that certain people don't know how to understand health because we haven't been taught these things. So I like to make these videos here so that, we can better educate ourselves and let anyone out there make a better decision on why yoga is just naturally good for you. Even me, you probably hear me a little more, you could say, stress response than normal. Why is that? Because people keep attacking me with stressful remarks about why I'm offering healthy things and talking about the health benefits that they offer, when that's my job and that's what I'm just supposed to be doing. And it's funny because I noticed even when I was doing it, going from a sympathetic to a parasympathetic response. One of the things had ashwagandha in it. It's a herb I've been taking for years. This is a great way. I made the video on Ayurveda you can check out. A great way to look at how the things we consume can help us get out of our stress response and into a more meditative parasympathetic response. So now that we understand the sympathetic nervous system a little bit more, the parasympathetic nervous system can actually become of use and of meaning, because you can't run away from the world. There's fight or flight response, which manifests in many ways, which you have to be able to use. Like, you can't function without this basic instinct. If you do, then you aren't necessarily experiencing everything that's happening. But being able to be rather controlled by that, which is someone that lives in a sympathetic nervous system response, and someone that can control that state with parasympathetic actions, which just means you sit down for meditation in silence. Maybe you listen to music, you sing, you find creative arts, you laugh, you dance, you actually enjoy life again. And you don't have to have a reason to do it because you have a natural joy and a bliss from God that comes from inside you. That's what the world can't take from you. But what the world will always try to do is to throw hate at you, to throw stress at you. We have hate manifested in foods that we eat, the foods that we so accept. If we accept certain things, we have to understand that those are causing a stress response to the body, and not necessarily in every case and condition. But if you look at the state of health in the world, I was just talking to someone about this as well, how mental health is equally connected to our physical health, and how physical health is connected to our mental health. And there's this intimate connection between the brain and the body that modern research is just catching up to, that yoga and Tantra has talked about for thousands upon thousands of years. and shown us that an energetic connection with the body is the most essential thing to attaining a better mental health. This is why we chant mantra. This is why we get into yoga asana. This is why we even take the time to sit and meditate when other people think it's stupid, because they're stupid, unfortunately, stupefied by the stupidity of what is that word doing. It's stopping you from connecting to what it is, or the ID, the inner dimension, the true identity, which is beyond identity of the mind. This is why yoga, even that thought of yoga, which is jnana yoga, just the thinking of God, brings us closer to a parasympathetic response, brings us closer to a state of what's known as union and brain synchronization, or having a system that's working together, more closely together, and having a brain that's firing together. So then look at all the stresses of modern life that are disharmonic, which are the ones that can't be brought back into order if you look at this, which is again, if you're eating certain foods, it's no wonder you're miserable, because the serotonin comes from your gut. A lot of it, most of it, is produced in the gut, basically. And this is research. The gut bacteria, our actual insides. That's why you need to cleanse out pathogens and parasites and all those things. Why we talk about that. You can check out Alias Herbals. I have her tincture somewhere. But anyways, she is an awesome source for that. I made a video where I reviewed her little parasite tinctures and dropped some in my mouth, and that's it works incredibly. It's one of the best I've ever taken. I've been doing different wormwood, neem, and clove, or not worm, she put neem in hers, wormwood, black walnut, and clove blends for about 12 years now, and not every year, not so much as even I probably needed to at one point. Now I'm actually taking it a little more seriously, and her tinctures have been essentially one of the best. So this isn't a paid promotion or anything. I just really appreciate and really respect the work that goes into this sort of thing. So big thanks and gratitude to her. Check out her stuff with the other video where I have the little tincture in my hand. Anyways, that's why we need to cleanse certain things, or we can cleanse certain things. When I have learned to cleanse these, and I'm not telling you to go and do all these things, all that medical advice stuff, all the consult your doctor, healthcare advice. This isn't healthcare advice. This is yoga. And the world has now just caught up with some modern science to show us, hey, this is what happens when we do yoga. This is why we do meditation. And I'm not afraid to go into a sympathetic response to kind of push some of you guys back and say, hey, this isn't medical advice. This is yoga. Please, we respect the traditions here. Please respect them with us. And if you don't, there's plenty of resources that you can educate yourself on, research, and then you will see, okay, this is all the truth, and I've been lied to my whole life. Let me see if I can change that. Anyways, this is why we teach yoga. This is why we believe in it so much, because it's not even a belief. It's something we've experienced. What do I do, or what happens when I don't do yoga? How about that? If I took it out of the picture, because I can do that now too. I've done it for so long. I don't need to do yoga to connect to God. I can have you could say a bad day, and I'm going to go connect to God at the end of the day. At the beginning and the end of the day, I'm going to make sure I connect to God, because He's always there. And when you're always there, when the I am, the presence within you, when God is present within you, then you'll see the difference of the worldly view of yoga and all these other things, and the essentially true traditions of what yoga is. And that is bringing us from the sympathetic fight or flight response into a closer, more healing parasympathetic yogic state. The yogic state is known as union. And when we enter this stage, this is when essentially the Ida and the Pingala, or the two Pingala, Ida being the lunar and the Pingala being the solar, so the feminine and the masculine and the feminine, working together again. Once we can get that, that's why we share the pranayamas. We have that video with the Anulom Viloma pranayama, which is the alternate nostril breathing. One way to begin balancing that. And as I go into this video, I'm even, like I said, coming from that place where it's like, it's okay to experience life, everyone. Let me be joyful about it too. This is real emotion. When you experience real emotion, you aren't restricted to what someone says, oh, you're supposed to be happy, but they're miserable inside. When you hear them speak, When you listen to certain people speak, when you listen to certain people think, what they're thinking of, the way they speak to you, you start to understand, wow, these people are miserable inside and they're attacking me for no reason. I'm just standing here doing my job, or I'm in my room meditating, or I'm singing a song, or I'm doing this, and I'm playing my instruments, and I'm just enjoying the moment. I'm laughing, I'm having a good time. And people come in and they're so aggressively just can't take it. They can't handle the fact that someone's actually fine with themselves, even if they're not okay with what's happening around them. And that's a very powerful place to be in, to be able to navigate both of these states without being stuck in either or the other. Because if you're in too much of a parasympathetic response, if a cheetah comes out of nowhere, you probably can't outrun it. But maybe you could fight it. Try at least something. So understand how nature works. You can't take away nature, but that's what makes the human being unique, is we have the consciousness that says, hey, I'm feeling these things. Let me go do these things instead, which is aka yoga, mantra, chanting, reading scriptures, understanding a relationship with God, and not just a worldview that has some idea about all these things. That's where we're coming from on Yoga Tantra Healing. I don't come from any other place than the place of our own authenticity and our experiencing with these teachings, and as becoming a teacher ourselves, only getting one small, I've taken a few courses, or a couple courses now, and I'm going to get plenty more to come. Actually a few, because I do have the Reikis, but only 2 yoga courses have taught me so much, because I was already for 7-8 years before that studying almost every day and learning and reading books, and from India, from real gurus, from trusted sources and swamis and all these things, and not to even put them on a pedestal, because we have to take out all the pedestals. That's where it's like, yeah, and it's like, and they were just like us at one point too, or maybe they were born into essentially a higher state in the physical in that way. But realize we're all on the equal plane. We're all human beings in that experience, and we are also uniquely divine in our experience as human beings, that we are spiritual beings. We have a soul, we have a purpose if we so choose to, and we also just have a collective being, which is essentially love, if we want to call it that. The spirit, the whole point of a spirituality is to have a spirit, to be connected to the spirit again. The oneness, the Holy Spirit, through God, through Christ in me, and you, and for everyone who receives this. So I don't want to take this too far, but it's what we've experienced through all these things, leading us back to a deeper connection with God and our faith, and overcoming the world again, as Jesus, is in the Bible saying. All these things, how he overcame the world and shows us the way in him, that we can walk in the world but not be of it. What does that mean? The world wants us to be aggressive and against each other. The world wants us to hate one another for no reason. The world wants us to submit to a power structure that doesn't agree with the laws of nature and natural creation, or God's infinite design, again, which is love. We call it Jah Love. And all these mantras, all these songs, come from that place of one love. Bob Marley, One Love. Everyone sings that song, and it's like so hard to find anyone in this world that even means it. They'll love to sing it, and then there's no love. There's absolutely no love. They'll instantly, if I get into one of these conversations, ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. There you go. It's because mental health is a crisis right now on the earth, and our physical health, and war, and religion, and politics, and money, and greed, and all these things. And it didn't say we don't have to take it all apart, we don't have to put it back together. We can see what's here right now and unpack, wow, we're all human, we're all equal, we're all meant to be equal. but it doesn't seem that way. So if we can understand that the true power is in God, in union to God's will, which can also be seen as surrender or submitting to God's will. And to some people that's offensive. They're like, no, you are the only God and all this thing. It's like, then how are we talking to each other? How are we even communicating? Because if two or more are gathered in one place, then the Most High, God is surely is in the midst of us. I'm just paraphrasing some of these scriptures. You can read the Bible yourself. Read the Bible from a perspective of yoga and you and your connection to God. That your self-realization actually matters. Your salvation actually matters. And there's never been a time on this earth that we've needed that more than ever. All of us, myself included. Which is why I speak on these things. Which is why I make all this music and just share all these teachings so openly, because it's time to be honest. And in that state we get out of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. We're like beyond it, because we're like, oh, we got to do something. Be sympathetic, be empathetic with others, even better. Don't be pathetic though. We don't have to be weak. And it's like these words are all spells. Understand how all these words are spells. We're spelling it out. We're spelling it out for everyone. A lot of us are doing a really good job of it. And that's why I always say, my gratitude to my teachers, my mentors, all my gurus of the years. Infinite, it's all we can do. Our family, our mother, our father, our brothers, our sisters, we're all one. And no matter what we do, we have to make the choice now that we have grown into this, and they say, some sources are even saying now, it's good or evil or a tree of life, basically, this parasympathetic, sympathetic thing. And that's a good way to look at it too. But it's pretty clear that there is a path that disconnects us, and there's a path that connects us back to God. And we're here like, what are we choosing? As a whole, as a collective, beyond a species, but humans all share this unique quality. So that's why we offer all these things. You can reach out to us, check the links in our description, book a yoga session with us, and we'd be happy to help you on your journey, give you these practices directly, and take time together to come to this state of fullness, of transcendence. And still being present here on earth, and like we can get things done, we can use our nervous system, we can be tapped in to the natural reality, both parts of our nervous system, and not be disconnected from anything. And that's where the clarity comes from, is against dividing ourselves in these things, being unified in these things. So hopefully this video has brought some peace and calm. Maybe it fired you up and inspired you to do a million things, and that's awesome too. We encourage both of those activities, and hopefully we all just continue to grow in that way.